It's time for Lance and Larry Tracking the Pack, the Ravens edition. We bring in the Packers radio analyst, Larry McCarren. And Larry, no doubt about it, it is a big loss to not have Clay Matthews for at least multiple weeks. Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers calling him the Packers' best defender. But Mike Neal, as well as Nick Perry, picked great weeks to have arguably their best performances as pros. So how big of a loss is Clay Matthews?
Well, number one, you're never going to replace a Clay Matthews, an apple for an apple. I mean, he's just an incredible player. That's why they signed him that big extension during the offseason. That's why folks call him their best defensive players, the folks that really know. You're not going to replace what he brings to the party because you can count on Clay Matthews a couple, 3 times per game, making game-changing type plays. So you can throw that out of the equation. But the encouraging thing is, as you mentioned, Mike Neal, Nick Perry both plays their best games as Green Bay Packers. The week before, they have to combine to replace Clay Matthews, and both those guys have got some ability. I think Mike Neal has a little more snap to his game, can be a little more explosive, but you can't disregard the fact Nick Perry, 2 sacks. You know, one came through effort, one came through coming around the horn, beating a guy with speed. They do have ability, so the cupboard, let's put it this way, Lance, the cupboard is certainly not bare when it comes to outside linebackers for the Green Bay Packers.
Larry, the Packers lost close games to San Francisco and Cincinnati on the road, kind of more marquee opponents, marquee games. Defending Super Bowl champions, do they need a road win against a team like this to build some confidence and say, yes, we can pull out one of these close games in the fourth quarter down the stretch?
Lance, to be honest, I don't think there's an issue of confidence about road games with the Green Bay Packers. The core of the team, the leadership of that team has been there and done it. They've won a lot of big games, home and otherwise. I don't think confidence is an issue. It's playing well enough, and road games, as has been the case this year, seem to come down to the fourth quarter and finishing stronger than the Packers have on the road. I think that's as big a key as anything, but I don't really think they go into games thinking, I hope it doesn't get to that fourth quarter because who knows if we can make the plays. I really don't think that's a mindset. It's a matter of executing and getting it done at crunch time.
Larry, Jordy Nelson has always had that intriguing intangible of size and speed. He can use his body to shield off defenders yet blow past them. This year, has he added something to his repertoire? Because it seems like every game he makes one of those sideline tippy-toe catches that is nearly impossible to do.
Lance, I think last Sunday I called him a magician on the sideline. And ironically enough, I was in the locker room this past week and I heard him doing an extended interview about his ability to make sideline catches. And he was talking about the technical aspect of it, how he doesn't pitter-patter his feet. The one foot that's down, he tries to make sure that one's down inbounds and then drags the other one. And talking about the technical aspects, but I really think he's just a different breed of cat when it comes to having a feel for the sideline, where he's at in relation to hit, and at the same time he's simultaneously catching a ball where it's thrown to the one spot where the defender can't get it. It's an amazing knack, ability, whatever you want to call it, but I'm glad he's got it.
Obviously no heart and soul of the Ravens defense anymore. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed is not there anymore as well. From your film study so far, Larry, how different is the Ravens defense? What do they bring to the table this year?
They certainly have some talented folks up front. Nada, Suggs are the big names, but they're not the only ones that can play the game. But I will say this, Lance, that Ray Lewis was kind of on his last legs last year, and Darryl Smith, the guy they brought in from Jacksonville to replace him, is playing better. I mean, football. Now, he doesn't have a dance before the game, and he doesn't give great mean-looking faces and things like that, but he's playing better than Ray Lewis did a year ago. So when it comes to replacing the legend that is Ray Lewis, not going to get that done, but as far as down playing football, they've done a good job of replacing him.
Joe Flacco got that big contract in the offseason. He also lost Anquan Bolden. He had a 5-pick game the game before this last one that they beat the Dolphins. Larry, is he kind of pressing a little bit, or is he still the same Joe Flacco that won him the Super Bowl?
What I see, Lance, is he's dealing with, he doesn't have a ton of playmakers on the outside. Torrey Smith is one, but other than that, they're kind of nicked up at wide receiver. Doesn't have a lot of playmakers out there. Doesn't have a real dangerous tight end, although Ed Dixon isn't bad. But the thing that's really hurting him, I think at this point, is the offensive line. Just has not come together. The guy that really stands out to me is the man who's been starting at left tackle, the former Viking Bryant McKinney. He's playing a very, very lazy brand of football right now. They just made a trade for Eugene Monroe, and it wouldn't come as no surprise to see him starting at left tackle. But the offensive line and the supporting cast around Flacco just hasn't gotten it done, particularly the guys up front. And I think that's what's hurting Flacco as much as anything. Again, they couldn't run the ball at all against Buffalo. And you can't run it, and you can't pass protect. 5 interceptions, no big shock.
Last thing, Larry, we'll end on a lighter note because you're kind of our GQ fashion expert. The Ravens are going to wear the black alternate jerseys. They're 7-1 under John Harbaugh wearing those jerseys. And sometimes you hear the modern athlete saying, if you look good, you play good. I get the sense, Larry, back in your day, you could have worn a T-shirt and shorts and played out in the parking lot. You wouldn't have cared. Is there anything to the fact of looking good and playing good?
Well, to be perfectly honest, Lance, I spent a good 1-2 hours in front of the mirror before I went out the tunnel just to make sure my look was nice and tight and clean. I mean, I really subscribe to the modern. I was actually ahead of my time when it comes to looking good and playing good. Really.
Well, that beard is pretty manicured. I mean, a lot of those guys wear like the bushy caveman beard or whatever. You've always kind of kept it trimmed up, Larry.
I don't think you've looked at pictures of me from yesteryear. It was kind of all over the place,
I do have one of your cards above my desk, though. You're right. There were a couple of times where the hair was kind of out there, buddy.
Well, did I sign it, Lance? Did I put stay in school and don't do drugs, something like that on it?
No, you didn't, but it was from one of those
Good luck in sports, something really clever like that?
Yeah, it was from one of those cop programs, so I appreciate you signing it. Larry, good luck in Baltimore, and have a great call of the game against the Ravens on the Packers Radio Network.
Always a pleasure, Lance.
All right, Lance and Larry tracking the pack.